and your hair's too long. Your clothes are too dirty. If it was up to me, I would give you more than 30. How do you think that we're gonna live? We're gonna squeeze your money, you're gonna have to give. When you're all dried up, we're gonna feel better. If the system's at fault, you can always send a letter. Help, I must be in a bad dream. Now you can see what I mean. Help, 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 help me. Time passes so fast, I never felt so low. I'm gonna last, where did it all go? I've been in this trap for so long. How can we let the monster go on?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon, rather. It is noon. I want to introduce my colleague, Jenny Rutt. Hello, Jenny.
Hello.
How are things in Pennsylvania with Department of Corrections?
Well, there's turmoil, as usual.
Really?
There's been a lot going on.
Yeah. Tell us.
Governor, first and foremost, I think this is very interesting. I just found this out this morning, that you know how inmates have their law library and have access to all the court cases and the new developments and such. Well, there has
Yes.
been 4 bills signed by Governor Wolf recently. Inmates are allowed to see 3 of them, and the 4th one, they have to pay to view it. So, I'm not exactly sure what their logic is about that. They've also found out that as they're trying to search for different court cases that would help their defenses, certain ones are not coming up for whatever reason.
Oh.
So, what we plan to do is I am going to get information about which court cases are not coming up for them. I am going to research them myself, print them out, and send them through smart communications to the DOC, to inmates, to see if they receive it that way. And if they don't receive it, then we have proof of corruption, because they legally cannot deny them information about
No, they
past
cannot.
court cases. And there's always that DOC rule about this can't happen, but yet it does. So, but until you can prove it, it doesn't mean anything. Now,
Well,
in
Jenny?
go ahead.
I am reading here in this article about where they're charging the prisoners to read. It says right here in black and white, Department of Corrections has decided to make rehabilitation much harder. And that's your state they're talking about. So, wow.
Yeah, you'll have to send me whatever you just saw that on. But, yeah, it's absolutely horrible. Now, we already have indigent packages in places because most inmates, not most, some inmates, do not have outside resources. So how are they going to pay for this? 2, there's limited access.
Yeah.
And 3, to bring up something you and I discussed before, GTL gives a tablet to every single inmate. But in Pennsylvania, the Department of Corrections charges these inmates $147. So they have physical custody of all these tablets, but do not give them to the inmates unless they pay $147, which the rest of the state, the rest of the country gets them. And the thing is, the DOC has them. And now every inmate that goes in, and you don't have inmates that stay in sometimes maybe 6 months, a year. What are they doing with those tablets? Where are they going?
I don't know. What would they be doing with them?
Well, and this again is just more reason why I am looking into a RICO, because you have GTL providing these tablets. The DOC does not give them to the inmates. Then the DOC made this whole $15 million, what do they call it, contraband drug elimination efforts, which didn't even happen to begin with. But they stopped allowing the mail. That all has to go through Smart Communications at the cost of $367,000 a month. And then, $376,000 a month we are paying for our mail to be processed through a company that is owned by the Filipino long-distance telephone company. That's a whole other ball of wax. Yeah.
Now, how crazy is that? We have got unemployed people all over this country, and they take that. Oh, that is just that is so aggravating, isn't it?
It is. And the thing is, and I looked for this PLDT, is an umbrella company that owns 56 other companies. Many of those are, what do they call them? Their extension on the end is LTEs or something like that. And some of them have 50, 60 companies under them. This company, the Filipino Long Distance Telephone Company, owns the Filipino Stock Exchange. That's how big this company is. And we are paying them $376,000 to process our mail that the United States Postal Service was doing for free. So,
that's incredible.
And they also do not allow any more books. They had banned the books for a while. You could no longer buy books to send into your inmate, which anybody that knows anybody in prison knows that's a huge deal. You know, books are huge to them. And you know why? Because they had to buy the e-books on these tablets that they had to pay $147 to get. So, I mean, and it spins around and around and around. And I went further on to find out into the campaign records of the Filipino Long Distance Telephone Company. And you know how corporations can't do campaign donations over above a certain amount. I found out that each one of their employees donated $1,000 to a particular candidate.
Clever.
Yeah. So, the well runs very, very deep. But now they're allowing the books again. But they have to be sent to a different processing center at a greater cost yet again to the Pennsylvania taxpayers.
I'm surprised, really. I mean, gosh.
Yes, it is absolutely ridiculous.
They're just getting ridiculous.
It is. And the thing is, if it was reality-based, it would be different. But the doctors from the emergency rooms, where these correctional officers were treated, have made countless statements showing there is no proof. It was a psychological reaction to anxiety. And at the cost of $15 million just for the mail. That's not the new drug scanners and everything else that went on. And they found two correctional officers just in the prison, just at SCI Frackville, for bringing in contraband. That have been released from their employment and formally charged, but they will not release the information of who these guards are. Now, they have proof that the two guards did it. So why then are inmates and the families being robbed of simple things? The vending machines, letters. You know, the inmates need something that their family members touched. As simple as it is, a Christmas card. It means everything.
A lot to them.
And, you know, in the contract that when John Wenzel, the secretary, signed with Smart Communications, it is in the contract that it is supposed, any photographs sent in are supposed to be exact replication of the picture. I sent a picture of my nephew, who is African American, to my husband. My husband was given at a completely blacked out reprint, completely black. There's nothing. Yeah, and we waited for 4 months, I guess, and I just sent him pictures again. Pictures are completely illegible. He could not even see them. And in the Smart Communications contract, it says that the PADOC has 1 year warranty on anything they are given by Smart Communications to be returned and reprinted. So if they were given that copy, if it was digitally sent over to them, they could have returned it, but they chose not to. Or scenario 2 is they printed it off that way and accepted it and gave it to an inmate who was expecting a picture of their loved one. It's horrible. It's horrible. But
now, Jenny, is this? I wanted to know: is this going on in Philadelphia, where they got all that money for prison reform, where they're bragging and singing because they shut down a jail?
Yep, this is statewide.
They're experiencing this too in Philadelphia, DOC.
Yes, because now, what was it, last year or the year before?
The media is trying to prevent things, so.
They're doing damage control. And the way that they are breaking the communication between inmates and their loved ones, I'm sorry, but I don't see it any different than the way they structure the media over in Iraq. You get to see what they want you to see.
Right.
And then 3 days this past week, they shut down. They said over the loudspeaker that there was a state of emergency, and they closed all the kiosks and the phones so that there was no communication in and out of the prison. As far as I know, only the governor can do that, but the governor has not done that. So they are becoming gods of their own making. Yeah. So, and the thing is, but
I'm not laughing.
Yeah, no, it is. It's ridiculous, and they are going over and above saying that all their drug elimination efforts have shown a reduce in contraband in the prison. Well, that would be because of the 2 correctional officers that are no longer in the prison. And there was no contraband to begin with. That's the funniest part of it. How can you reduce nothing from nothing?
I wanted to ask you about those new drug detectors. Is that how those guards got caught that were fired, or no?
That started afterwards. But what's interesting about the new drug scanners, there's one for visitors, and there's one for COs coming in. There's also a different metal detector. So why do they need a different drug scanner?
I don't, because people aren't supposed to get caught. That's why.
It's just utterly ridiculous.
Well, it's all over. It's just all over. Let's see. And one of my things I was going to talk about, a guard and an inmate both tested positive for tuberculosis. Now, what does that tell you?
Ooh, right. Yeah, there was, Part A and Part B were joining. I'm sorry.
I would say so.
It's kind of like the electrical outlet in the socket, it's just.
Well, Jenny, I wanted to know, because I was fascinated. Philadelphia got $4.something million for prison reform. And what do you think about that?
Well, from what now, there's trying to find out what they spent that money on is it's obscure to say the least, because I've been trying.
Questions I've been dying to know. What are they doing with $4 million? That sounds fabulous.
Now, what I'm wondering is, now I have been definitely, all for the First Step Act, absolutely, but that only affects people in federal prisons. It does not affect state prisons. So, it's great, but as a first step, but it doesn't affect any state prisons. It's only federal inmates. And, they need help, too. But this is what I think. Now, again, this is what I think, not what I know. I'm thinking that $4 million they got is to help federal inmates and not state inmates. And that's why we're not seeing where the money is getting spent. That's just a hunch I have.
Interesting.
Yeah, so like I said, I can't confirm that, but considering the lack of information, I think that's what's going on. But there will be more digging. Now, before I go ahead.
Well, okay, I was going to ask you about that prison closing down, but finish what you were.
Oh, yes. There were supposed to be 2 prisons shut down out of the 5.
Yeah.
They've shut down 1. But something happened in the last couple months because SCI Fractal, where my husband is, was supposed to be one of the ones that got shut down. And all of a sudden, everything stopped. When this whole contraband issue came up, that got swept under the rug. There's no more talks about it, nothing. So I'm not sure what's happening. But what did not make any sense to me was they shut down 1 prison and they took another prison and spent an absurd amount of money fixing it up. And then on top of it, I think it's Delaware. What is it, Delaware? There was
I saw them mentioned somewhere. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think it's Delaware. They have been sending inmates up to Pennsylvania to be housed. There was some kind of disaster to one of the prisons, and they're paying PA like $83 a day for each one of these inmates.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so why are we shutting down prisons, fixing up other prisons, saying our prisons are so overpopulated that we have to shut down more prisons, but then taking inmates in from another state? Right. Like, something just does not make sense there. I don't know exactly what.
This is all done in the name of prison reform, which is why I brought it up to you, because the papers will have you believe, $4 million, but, knowing what I know, I'm thinking, really, that's a lot of money. Who earned that? Where did it go? And what reform? They shut down a prison. That does not cost money to close a prison.
Right. And that's it.
Where is it going?
Your guess is as good as mine because I've been trying to find that. Now, I do have one good piece of information to share. I have some resources I want to share at the end of the show, but one good piece of information. Now, you and I both work not only for ourselves, but for different states and for inmates across the country. I mean, our whole goal here is unity. Yes. My husband he's a good speaker. He always has been. And he's very big into educating young men on what they can do and what their rights are. He has now started meeting with another top guy, I guess you could say, from another culture. A very vast culture, which I'm not going to identify because that's not the point. But what's interesting is they are now exchanging information. Good information, resources, how to lift each other up. The information I'm sharing with my husband is now getting shared to him. And they're actually starting a wonderful network. Like, everybody knows what's going on in Alabama. The cruelty there is just beyond hideous. And, family members have family members and friends across the country. We are now networking so that people can find out if their loved one is okay, if their brother, their cousin, their aunt, their uncle is alive.
This is positive
and
stuff.
And it's wonderful. It's wonderful when you can get 2 people from.
Your husband is a heck of a guy, Jenny.
He is. He is.
Stephen Rudd, everybody.
Yes.
He's our Pennsylvania inside man.
Yep, he is. And now he's taking his role as being the representative for the prison very seriously. And on our next show, I will have a personal statement from him, letting everybody know as an inmate what it's like. And his main thought to me to this point has been that it takes away your imagination, which seems very odd, but let me explain his thinking on it. Your imagination is the precursor to what your reality is. Your perception of the world around you is a huge big deal. They have cut off so many sources of information. Now they've cut off the greeting cards and cut off the meal. It was never about sitting there and getting a cheeseburger out of a vending machine. It was sharing a moment of normalcy. A dinner around a table with your loved one. Yes, they've taken that away. So and he always says, he calls it the tomb. You go in your tomb where you're dead but your eyes are open. And all you can do is imagine. You can think about what you talked about when you had that meal, the handwriting on the card that you just got, or, how that envelope felt when you knew that their hand touched that pen. That's what they're taking away. So the statement that I'm going to read for him is going to delve into a little bit more of what that's like. And I think it ties a lot into what the freedom fighters are doing and what Bozilla is doing to let women know what their husband, their son, whatever, is going to need when they come home. So we are really getting groundbreaking here on breaking down those walls. And we're reaching each other as human beings across so many divides. And, I mean, I could not be more excited about that. I really couldn't.
Well, are you aware there is a show coming out? I wish I knew the channel. I forget, they're filming inmate relationships when they first come out of prison. In other words, these are relationships that form while the person is incarcerated. Then the person gets out, and they're putting it all in a reality show. And this made me sad and disgusted.
Yeah.
I wonder how you feel about that, having your husband in prison and knowing, what it's like for a wife. What can you weigh in on this? What do you think of that show?
Well, I mean, when anybody first comes home from prison, I mean, it is such a huge adjustment, sensory-wise. And those first moments, days, hours, weeks, are so intimate. And I think people tend to underestimate how much of a culture shock it is. They go from being in a warehouse setting with the same temperature all the time, the same amount of lights all the time, the same sounds, and then people are wearing the same color clothes, everything. Everything is very routine into this world where everything is open and everybody just, rushes them with so much and good meaning. And then to have that on top of it, a media presence, it sounds awful. It sounds awful.
That's what it does. It does. And they actually show a preview of one poor man running around the truck just frantically screaming, get it off, shut the camera off or something. And
right.
This is just horrible.
Yeah, I mean,
horrible.
I mean, I know.
It's that way.
Yeah, it's absolutely, and
that's what it is.
It's
I think
furthering.
They're taking advantage of the inmates, essentially. A lot of women will marry men to be on TV. I mean, you and I know women like that. We know they're out there.
Yepper.
And I just think it's the start of a new trend that, personally, I'm going to make a stink about. I really think that show needs to shut down. Maybe it's
horrible
for one season, and they'll have to stop it. But
right. Well, we'll have to see what we can do to boycott it. But yes, I think it's horrible. I mean, Stephen has been incarcerated before, and when he came home, it was for 9 months one time. And when he came home, I was a little unnerved, and I wasn't quite sure how to handle it. And I remember everything was going very normal. And all of a sudden I seen him go, and he sat at the kitchen table, and he folded his hands, and he got very still, and he got very quiet, which is not like Stephen. Stephen's very social and very affectionate, and we're always jibber-jabbering. And this happened a couple nights in a row. And I started watching the clock, and it was every night at 9 o'clock, lockdown time. Even without him realizing it, he went right into lockdown mode. And I didn't even say this to him until much later. I started, like around 8:30, 8:45, I would try to get him to sit on the sofa with me and get involved in a TV show or something. And, I started to buffer it out. But, I mean, I remember it brought tears to my eyes. I mean, I was just like, wow. People don't understand how ingrained that gets.
Yeah, because when my son did his first incarceration as an adult and got out, I was horrified to find out that I could not wake him up because he'd wake up fighting mode, gasping, screaming.
Right.
He thought he was being attacked. And that just, you can imagine what went on in my mind. Because, of course, he's my son. He's not going to tell me these things. But,
right, yeah, there's so many things, like you can't go up behind them and touch their shoulder, and, it's
on the
a lot.
positive note, I wanted to let you know there is some good news.
Okay.
I don't know if Stephen your husband's going to be looking for work or not when he gets out, but as you know, my son is out there looking for work now, and he did find a job. Come to find out, Jenny, there are so many felons out there now.
Right.
At this point in time, that are employed, that they're helping others get their foot in the door, and it's actually doable. I mean, I am just so excited about this. I think this is one thing they did not count on with mass incarceration, did they? And let's face it, the attitude of going back seems to have shifted in just the last 2 years alone.
Yes.
I have personally noticed.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people are very desperate not to go back to the point where those who didn't reach out times before reach out now.
Right.
And we're finding more and more help, more and more support. It's something that is talked about now.
Right.
So,
and they're quickly becoming the majority, not the minority.
Yes, I knew this was going to happen. I really did, because every year there's more and more of them. But let me pull up this article here real quick. Do you want to read something from Stephen?
I'm going to do that next week, because in true PADO style, he did it in the form of emails, and they only sent me the second half of the email, so I don't have the whole thing.
Oh, no. Okay.
So, I am going to wait to get his full email, but if you want to research that, I can go ahead and list off some of the resources that I found for our listeners in Pennsylvania. How does that work?
Yeah, go ahead. Let me find. You go ahead and do that. I'm going to find an article about Mississippi that's great.
All right. Okay. For anybody listening who has an inmate in PA, there are some pieces of information that are very important. Any regular mail, which is considered anything except legal mail, must be mailed to the following address. If you mail it to the institution where your incarcerated loved one is, they will not get it. The address you need to mail things to is Smart Communications /PADOC. On the next line, you will write the inmate name /inmate number. On the third line, you will write the name of the institution. Under that, it is P.O. Box 33028. It is in St. Petersburg, Florida. The zip code is 33733. You are allowed to send a maximum of 25 pictures at a time, but be warned that these pictures will not be given to the inmate. They will be processed by Smart Communications and digitally sent over along with the mail to the institution. The institution will then reprint them and give them to your inmates. It is supposed to be an exact replica of the picture, but don't hold your breath. Publications. I'm just being out with it, And any publications, books, or magazines. Books that can be sent to the inmate, but they have to be through a bookstore. Like if you order it through Amazon, it has to come from an Amazon warehouse. It cannot come from a Goodwill or a singular person through Amazon. It has to be from a reputable seller. Now, what I did just to be sure is I took a screenshot of the vendor that I'm getting the book from that I just sent my husband, and I put it on Twitter, and I tagged the PA Department of Corrections, and they said that it was okay. So if they don't get it, I have proof that they okayed it. So that's what I recommend. Anyway, so publications, books, and magazines. We'll go to the Security Processing Center. On the next line, it'll be the inmate's name /inmate's number. The address is 268 Bricker, Bricker Road in Bellefonte, Bellefonte, PA 16823-1667. newspapers are the only thing that can still get delivered to the prison themselves. All right, so that's what I have for that.
Good. Well, that's helpful. That really is, and I am sorry that you're having that mail problem in Pennsylvania.
That's ridiculous.
And here they are, just going $4 million and Philly. Okay, enough. Yeah, it turns out in Michigan they are actually reporting fewer prisoners every year. They've got a pretty good thing going on there. There's prison spending they were concerned about, which I think is interesting. You take a state like Michigan, you've got your proud Americans there, really, and I guess they kind of got up in arms about spending all this money on prison,
Right.
So they've actually made some pretty good strides. And then again, all those states that are legalizing marijuana, good job, because we don't have room for them in jail, and they don't need that much correcting.
No, my gosh, so, no. It shouldn't even be a crime, in my opinion.
Time and money and spending,
yes.
So we could stop that. We really could.
Right. And I mean, I can say... Go ahead.
As far as these games that Department of Corrections are playing, I want to make it very clear to everybody listening that this is because of money. They are big money makers, these prisons, are they not? And they are paying for the campaigns, and they're essentially electing the people that make the laws. And why are they doing this?
Absolutely.
Money. And the thing is, us relatives of those inmates pay most of that money. So
Absolutely.
I really think, we need to start protesting about this. And it's the perfect time to get up and start to do something. Every time I check around for groups, here in Arizona, there's more and more prison groups. As you know, Jenny, there's more and more popping up. And folks out there, if you need to contact me, Jenny, or Dawn from Dawn Behind the Wall. You go to Sisters Against the System. We're on Instagram and Facebook.
And Twitter and Facebook.
And Twitter and Facebook. Okay.
Right.
We're on Twitter and Facebook. You can leave comments. You can get in touch with us. Any information from the inside, you can leave anonymously. We really don't want anybody getting in trouble. We just want to safely expose corruption and prison conditions. A lot of them are finding mold that is absolutely unacceptable, Jenny.
Absolutely.
So if that's a problem, we have it here in Arizona, too, something about the dry and then the damp and then the dry and then the damp. It does tend to breed some strain, especially that Pargo disease. So people getting out of prison are probably fairly ill, I would think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, you figure a lot of these prisons down in the dungeons that they say don't exist are normally just earth floors. They're not sealed floors. So you have all kinds of bacteria growing, especially with the crazy weather that we've had over the last couple of years. Bed bug lice are huge in the prison system. You know what I mean?
I have seen, Jenny, pieces of ceiling falling down. It's hanging down so low, the inmates have to walk around it.
Right.
And it's up on, like, the third tier. Oh, come on. I mean, wow. And
it's
all this
horrible.
has been going on all along, but, of course, it got much worse with our mass incarceration. But the important thing to remember, folks, is with this mass incarceration comes more people to fight it. So let's all connect together and...
Yes, and we also, and Sisters Against the System also does have an email if you prefer to contact us that way, which is sisters, SITERS, the system, SYSTEM, @gmail.com. Anything that you give to us, the amount of anonymity that you choose is completely up to you. If you want us to broadcast something wide open, we're more than happy to do that. If you just want to give us a tidbit and move on, we accept that too. Another thing that Melissa and I have decided on, along with On Behind the Walls, is we really want to make sure inmates and their loved ones are heard. If you have a story that you want to share, we will be more than happy to do that. You can write us a letter for us to read. You can call in and join us on a broadcast. We can do a live broadcast on Facebook or Twitter. You let us know. We're here for you. That's what this is about. And we are working nationwide now between loved ones on the outside and inmates on the inside. You know, we're all in this together, and I think that's the one thing I want people to know more than anything else. You know, we're here. We're here for you to tell if you want to tell your story, what it's like to be a loved one of an inmate, get a hold of us. We will do that for you. We are here for your voice.
Yes, and we are fairly good at advice and investigation as well. We may be able to help you. If not,
absolutely.
I think between Jenny and I, we can find the person who will, can't we, Jen?
And that's another thing. I have oodles of resources. I have PDFs, which various resources of every different aspect, whether it be legal or connecting with other people that are in your similar situation, different services for inmates, donation services for books for inmates. There's one called the Jailhouse Lawyer's Handbook, which is a 5-chapter book that tells inmates all the legal resources they have at their disposal. I have the PDF. I will gladly share it. All you got to do is contact me. I will gladly email it to you.
Yeah, good. Jenny is a great source of information. And another thing, if you have a young one in prison and they are not getting education or able to take classes, I would like to know about it because they're pulling a big scam here in Arizona. I just found out from the inside that there are people taking electrician courses, Jenny. A woman in there who's not going to get out. She's 68 years old.
Oh.
Why is she in the electrician's course?
Right.
Money.
Right.
So if you have a loved one in prison that is not getting the proper education, let me know because this is a big deal to me. If they're going to educate someone to be an electrician that is not going to be employable when they get out, I would think that your loved one could easily receive that course instead.
Absolutely.
That shouldn't be a problem, should it? Really, I mean, this is outrageous to me. And then if I heard about the people that are made to go to these classes, and apparently it's also a way of controlling troublemakers during the stay. So if you're a troublemaker in there and you're not going to get out until you're, maybe 98, you're going to be in class learning how to be an electrician.
I don't mean to giggle, but it is. It's such an absurd world.
You know what, Jenny, it's getting so ridiculous that I laughed. I've been laughing for years.
You have
my
to.
Own son has been tedious. It's been going. He's 32 now, and it started when he was 8. So, I'm an old-timer here, and I've seen so many changes and things that are happening. You can't really, it used to bother me and make me sad and depressed, and now I just kind of, I think it's better to laugh at it because you're able to fight against it more.
Yeah, us being sad is not going to make an inmate any less sad. That's the harsh reality of it. And we are much
worse for them, actually.
Exactly, and when our heads are clear, we are capable of doing a lot more, which is why, again, the networking on both sides of the wall are so important because we have to lift each other up. We are faced with a lot of negativity and a lot of sadness and a lot of despair, and it can take a toll on you, so... you have to...
Yes. By the way, if we have any listeners, if we're fortunate to have any audience on the inside, boy, oh boy, would we love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Okay? And all privacy is respected at all times. You don't even have to tell us you're in there if you don't want to. So I just wanted to... I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to get that out because you never know. There's a lot of cell phones in prison.
Yep. Yep, and we are the last person to compromise anybody's
we want you to have
information.
Those phones.
Yes.
We definitely want you to have those phones, so we certainly will not give you any trouble at all.
Yes, and if you need information about an inmate and you don't know how to find them, if they are in another state, get a hold of us. We have lots of connections across the country, and we will do what we can. That's what we do. That's the whole point of this. So, but with that, I am going to have to wrap things up soon. Yes?
Oh, yeah, I just have one more little tidbit, and then we are ready to close. They have just released a videotape from the riot at Kingman, and authorities knew this was going to happen. It was reported, and the DOC officials chose to ignore it. Again, this is they ignored the warnings, and that's how the Santa Fe Penitentiary riot started too. Right. They knew it was coming, and they ignored it, So let's keep that in mind. They want these things to happen. And the end result was a lot of troublemakers in there. They're allowed to transfer anybody that they feel was a ringleader. So if they don't like you, you're transferred. And here in Arizona, if you are Hispanic and you were involved in any trouble in that prison, you're going to get transferred. That's it. They'll transfer you before they will an Aryan member. I guarantee you that.
Right.
So.
Right.
This is just, we'll see what this is going to turn into, because there is talk that, was this done on purpose? We've all heard about the guards betting and the gladiator stuff, and what this is actually doing is opening up the public to say, whoa, what was going on in there anyway?
Right.
And this
That's what we need.
Because Kingman is a correctional officer city. Okay, and they even have a group on Facebook that is both guards and family members of inmates because of this riot that was very scary, actually, and racially motivated. And the thing is, was it done on purpose? The fact that there's this Facebook group kind of tells me that, maybe it was, because that's the first time I've heard of something like that happening, frankly. Have you, during a prison emergency, the guards and the families get together and share information?
Right. Well, and that's it. That transparency is huge. Absolutely not. And that's it. The game is changing. The culture of fear that they try to rule with is changing. And, I mean, that's another thing my husband pointed out to me. The way they wear their hair, the way they dress, the way they stand, the way they walk, everything, down to the smallest detail, is meant to give that illusion of fear. And now that's breaking down.
The COs, Jenny?
Yeah, the COs.
The COs? Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, from the military haircuts to the way they dress, to the heavy black shoes, all those things that you think of, you know what I mean? The way they stand, everything is very militant. And they're losing that.
Why don't they join the service?
Yeah, exactly. And they're losing the battle. That's why they're going to such.
Most of them are drug addicts.
Exactly. They'd never make it. But and think about it. When you have a small child and they start to lose their control, what is the first thing they do? They tantrum and they get loud. And that's what the DOCs are doing. They're losing that militant control because of the transparency between the media, the internet, social media, everything. So, now we're creating $15 million fake, drug crises, and, and we're letting riots ensue, and, all this, the fake news. And, I mean, honestly, when we start caging people for profit, holy jeepers, that's something. That's something to take real serious. Yeah. We all know this has been going on, You know, the government is the government for a reason. They have one goal, that is control the population. And, you know, the well runs deep. It's just that now people are starting to see it. So they're panicking. And they're getting more and more extreme. So this is going to come to a head one way or the other.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and if you line up all the suits on one side and all the incarcerated and their loved ones on the other side, yeah. Right. So speaks volumes.
It's getting to where the numbers are dangerous. As I'm fond of saying, and I truly believe it, when the prisoners outnumber the members of the military, all combined military, we're going to have problems.
Well, think about it. I mean, the statistic is, and I've seen it over and over again.
Stop to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Out of the entire world, we have a quarter of the world's population of inmates in the United States. A quarter of the entire planet. That's huge.
I thought it would be more, though, honestly.
Yeah, you know. Well, I mean, that was the most recent statistic.
That's a large number. That is. But wow. Yeah, I was thinking probably. Wow. But you know what? If that's what we're at now, when we get to half, we got a problem.
Right. Oh yeah.
We got a definite problem. And the public keeps forgetting these inmates get out, folks. So we got to start taking a new attitude. And I guess it is time to wrap it up because you've got to get going.
It sure is. But yes, so please
catch up with us on Sisters Against the System, and don't forget me at National Prison Reform Chat. This week I'm going to be looking into South Carolina. Things are absolutely devastating there.
Okay.
And they're still in solitary, and it's trash. It's just inhumane, filthy. It's like a third world country.
Right.
It's horrible. So don't forget us during the week, and we will be back real soon with another
and make sure you check out Urban Talks on YouTube.
Yes.
Freedom Fighters with Dawn and Bozilla, National Prison Reform Chat, Sisters Against the System. We are all here for you. And with that, I will say good day, Melissa. Good day, Dawn.
Good
day, everybody.
Jenny. And goodbye, Dawn. You have a good one.
Bye-bye, everyone. Okay.